What did you learn about playing in the NBA this year that you didn't know when you got drafted?
I mean, I think everybody knows that it's an 82 game season, but until you feel it for the first time and understand like that your body is going to go through an 82 game season, I think that was probably the biggest thing that I've took from this year.
And how will that affect your approach in the next 4 or 5 months?
Just understand what my body needs. Coming into next year, coming into the summer, supposed to be a really big summer for especially all of us rookies. I think we'll have a different approach and understand, how to get our bodies ready for, what's to come next.
I'm not sure if you've seen or if you're online very much, but the fan response to your season has been really positive, and you've become kind of this fan favorite among the younger guys on the team. How have you felt the reception from the Toronto fans, and what has it been like being a part of this organization?
I mean, I love Toronto. I love Canada. I tried to learn the Canadian national anthem the first 3 games that I was here, and I kind of sing it every game, me and John. And they're just we talk about it as a team all the time. With the places we go, and even teams that are losing. Like we had a down year this year. Our fans were there all the way into the end, every game. Celebrating us. And I think that speaks volumes to not just this organization but this country. So, I think everybody that's played for the Toronto Raptors has nothing but good things to say about the Toronto Raptors. So, I think just having these fans love me is reciprocated. I love them back.
Obviously, there's the physical toll of the 82-game season, but you're coming from a college program that won a lot, and you as a player won a lot. What was it like adjusting to a team that isn't winning games constantly?
I think the adjustment was they're not winning now. I think, we have a lot of things that reflect winning. Our culture, how we carry ourselves in practice, how this organization carries themselves from top to bottom, from Masai, Bobby, Darko, to me and Orich. I think, everybody holds themselves to a different standard, and that's gonna help us win in the future. I think right now, yes, this year wasn't what we expected it to be, but all the things that we do and how we work, I think we'll get there.
What do you want to work on this summer?
I have a meeting with Darko in about 30 minutes to decide all of that. So, it's not about what I want to work on. I think for this team to be good, he's going to give me the things that, he would want to see out of me next year, especially to help us win. I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's not about what I want to work on. It's about, what helps this team. So whatever he says goes.
What are your expectations for the team next season?
I don't want to set a limit or anything on us. But, I expect us to win more. And, if we're blessed and fortunate to have guys healthy, I think we will win more. So I think, we'll go as far as Scotty, B.I., R.J., and Quick take us. And, all the other guys, all of us, will be right there tagging along, trying to do everything we can to help win. So I think, the sky's the limits for us this next year. And, I'm excited for it.
What's Darko been like as a rookie in the NBA, helping you continue to develop professionally?
He's very charismatic. I say this all the time. I've been blessed to come to an organization like this where, the things that he wants are sort of my strengths. Defense, just playmaking, and just other little things. And he's a very good coach, and he's very smart. You can talk to him about anything, and he'll listen. So I think just him being a good person has allowed him to be a really good coach for me.
There are obviously veteran teams in the NBA where a rookie comes in, might be the only guy and has to do it by himself. You've had other guys to learn with. On the other side of it, like there are really young teams where you don't have vets like Garrett Temple to help guide you through it that have been there before. What's it been like kind of having that balance of youth and experience on this team, and how much did it help you this year?
Yeah, and I say this all the time, being able to play, like actually play with Jamison, John, and Jacoby, we've got a lot of chemistry together now. It's not just us going to the G League and building that chemistry. We played against a lot of great guys this year, to where sometimes we didn't do as well, sometimes we did do as well. And I think we learned from it. And I think that was a really big part for us. And then just having Temp, Temp is just, he's going to be there in the background. And I say the biggest learning experience I got from Temp, and I always go back to the Pacers game that we played at the Pacers, the very first game. Temp teched in for 4 minutes and was probably plus 10 with 3 steals, and then didn't play again for another like 2 or 3 weeks. That's a true professional right there. And I think we could all learn something from Tim every single day.
What was your welcome to the NBA moment this season, and what did you learn from it?
I would say my first back-to-back. Or not even my first back-to-back, the back-to-back where we went and played against the Pacers, and coach joked and said I'd set a rookie record for turnovers in a game. But, he, like, little things like that, he joked around with that, but then, he took time to teach me after that. We sat down and talked for about 10 minutes and just about the energy you have to have for a back-to-back and just, what comes with it. He made every mistake or everything that I've done this year that wasn't good into a learning experience. I'm really thankful for that. So I think I didn't have really any rookie welcome to the league moment. Nobody really gave me 40 or anything. But I had a couple instances where, I had to learn the hard way with just how much a toll this game and this season can take on you.
If somebody told you back in October or even in June, July that you would lead the team in games played, would you have been surprised by that?
Very. Yeah, very. Coming to the season behind Quick and Davion, I wasn't really sure what was next for me, but, God works in mysterious ways. So, I was just here, ready to work, ready to learn, and, he kind of took the wheel, and I was able to be on the floor for that many games.
Jamal, over the course of the season as a rookie, you figured out a couple of things. The turnovers, you really got that under control, and then you got the three-point shot down as well for a good stretch. Is there something when you look back on this season that you're most proud of in terms of figuring this out in this league?
Oh, man. The offensive side kind of came along a little bit, but, just seeing that I could actually guard a lot of good players. I think the best thing that I can do for this team is guard. So understanding that there's different players and they play totally different games, like guarding Steph Curry is totally different from guarding John Morant. And, just understanding how to guard them and how coach wants me to guard them. So going into next year, when we have different game plans and different lineups and, just defensive lineups or this or that, I'm ready for it. I'm just trying to be prepared in any way so I can go out there and be productive.
Along the lines, who was the toughest guy you had to guard this year? Were you just after the game, you're damn?
I think the first time I guarded Steph here and also my first start against Ja, like I said, two totally different games, and trying to guard them the very first time playing them is two totally different things, and Steph kind of cooked me to a point where Davion had to come back into the game, and then the first start versus Ja just wasn't pleasant. So I think just taking it as a learning experience and not keeping my head down. But those were probably the two that kind of showed me what the NBA was like a little bit.
Did you feel this year like there was a bit of an adjustment period for the refs with the way you played defensively? Did you feel by the end of the year that you kind of started to understand, okay, this guy's in guys' shirts? Did it get easier for you as a defender, just kind of with the whistle?
I think the biggest thing, and I think any NBA player will tell you, is that these refs are people. When you address them by their names and you ask questions and you don't come at them and just start yelling at them, they'll help you. They'll teach you how they ref. You can come up and ask, hey, did I do this wrong or did I do that wrong? And they'll tell you. So, learning refs, learning people, learning how they call the game is definitely a big adjustment for sure.
When it comes to the draft process, some guys, they do the 1 year in college. Obviously, you went through a longer career. Looking back at that and how close you are to the Houston program, what's it like sort of watching the draft process from this angle this year, and how do you anticipate how closely you'll follow it over the course of this?
I'm excited for it, especially for my guys that will go through it. I've gotten a couple texts, a couple questions from a couple of them. But I think the biggest thing for them is just to understand that everybody's process is different. They asked me a bunch of questions, and all I could tell them was hey, I was hurt during my process. I still had my ankle injury. My process is going to be a lot different from yours, but I'm here for anything. And I think that, getting to see them go through it, and I just talked to Coach Kellen, our assistant coach at Houston, this morning, and we were talking about it, and he was just the biggest thing that you got to do is just got to go talk to people. A lot of people understand that to get in this league is hard, but you got to be a good person to even be around people, and people want to be around you. So I think everybody at Houston has a good chance just because everybody at Houston are good people.
Is there something you're looking forward to next season when you're not a rookie, not having to do the pink backpack or bring the cards on the plane?
The pink backpack was really cool, but now that pink backpack will go to Gary Temple's daughter.
Jamal, you mentioned you played so much with your fellow rookies this year. I want to ask you, like, what's the thing that you saw that, like, Jameson, that John, that Jacoby improved on the most of the course season? Like, what they figured out over the course of the season from your perspective?
I'll go one by one. I think for Jameson, you know, understanding that he might have been the best shooter in our class. He kind of showed that a little bit yesterday. And I think the sky is the limit for him as far as shooting goes, but he kind of took a part from his game to work on a lot of other things. Jameson has been guarding his butt off the last, like, 25 games. You know, that's big for him. And I was excited to see that for him because he's understanding how to get a role in this league, like we all are. And for John, it's just to stay aggressive. The only rookie with a triple-double this year. That's insane. You know, almost got two, 1 point shy. So just when he's aggressive and he's going at people, I think he's just a different monster. And then the sky's the limit for Jacoby, man. I think he didn't get to show as much as he wanted to this year. But, you know, Jacoby's been really good and, you know, look, he's right there. So I'm not going to talk too much highly again about him. But, you know, he's gonna surprise a lot of people next year.
Where do you attribute your, you know, leadership, your, you know, ability to public speak? You know, it's something, especially for the young guys that come into the NBA, that's a little bit of a learning curve, but you have seemed to come in and just be able to, you know, communicate and talk to your teammates and just come with this really positive energy, especially in a team, on a team that, you know, like you said, didn't really win as much as you may have wanted this season. So where do you attribute those skills from?
I was kind of made to. Coach Sampson, after our point guard left after my freshman year, he made me public speak everywhere, from banquets to before games to he would go into our press conferences and direct every question to me. So, you know, I think he kind of forced me into it, and then I kind of embraced it a little bit. You know, I think you, as a person, you guys are all regular human beings, and, you know, you all have your own ways of talking to each other. So I'm just trying to learn you guys as well.
Jamal, with the season you've had, you're up for contention for an all-rookie spot. What would that mean for you to be recognized like that?
I think it would be really cool, and I think it would be a testament to my teammates. You know, they built a lot of confidence in me, helped me build confidence in myself, and, you know, that would be an award for all of us to share because, you know, I think I wouldn't be able to do that without them.
Jamal, how did you get the role to do the public address in the last home game? Like, how was that decided?
I was made to. I think JQ has a lot of confidence in me a little bit, and then, you know, Darko probably said, yeah, let Jamal do it, because I think Grady did it last year, so I think, you know, they was just like, hey, Jamal's pretty good at it, so let him do it.
Were you nervous or anything?
No, not really.
What do you know about the game of basketball now that you didn't a year ago?
Oh, that people are really, really good at this level. You know, you can see it on TV. You can, oh yeah, Steph Curry's this, LeBron's this, until you get in front of them and then you realize, like, okay, I need to be locked in this entire time. I think just the level of play and the shots that people can make and will make shouldn't bother you because people are really good at this level.
I'm curious, sort of the opposite of the welcome to the league moment. Did you have a moment, or do you remember a moment where you felt like you really got your legs under you and you're like, you can hang?
Me and Jacoby's game versus the Rockets when we were here. I think he sprouted. That was my first double-double. I think that game we kind of drove home together and we're just like, hey, we could play. You know, we got to be consistent. We got to build on this. But, you know, I think we belong here.
It's Damon Stoudemire, and thanks for watching the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel. Check out our latest videos and subscribe for more.